in a strange way. It wasn't the most exciting episode, but I really liked it. I can't even tell you why. Um, Also, keep in mind, I watch these on Sunday morning on demand, so if you haven't caught the show yet tonight, obviously I got spoilers, so check out the episode and then come on back. But I got a few notes here. Um, Again, I don't like sit down and super focus on this stuff for 45 minutes straight, but just things I've caught while I was getting some work done this morning. I played a show in the background, but right from the get go, this whole Sacker job offer, bounced around. Again, more like game theory type stuff going on. Axelrod type bait switch setup where you approach Sacker, and then we're gonna have her turn it down, and then Ira's gonna jump in, and Wags tries to warn him, but come to find out, Prince is so smart. He's like a 3D chess player, and that's was his whole intention to get Ira in on the mix, and it's just it's like Doctor House type of shit where it just doesn't happen in the real world that way. Makes for interesting TV. But I've been waiting for that moment for Sacker to just cross Chuck. He, uses people to the end to go achieve his um, petty goals and his personal vendettas instead of just focusing on the real stuff. And he was just, pimping Sacker along to just get what he needs. And she was, she's smarter than Chuck in the show. She needed to spread her wings and fly. And Prince was smart to come along and say, "Hey, I know what your ambitions are. Here's your new office across the street." And that's how you get somebody, right? You start to help them visualize the future and how they're going to facilitate that. And I know that because I own a handful of recruiting companies, and that's how we get big time executives that jump companies. Is you have to paint that picture and help them visualize it. And yeah, that was good to see. Um, I got a whole bunch of other notes here and some thoughts and whatnot. But that guy doing the speech, I'm not a huge sports person, so I don't even know who that was giving the speech. And I'm actually too far away from the TV because I'm working on Sunday morning, and um, I'm not it's just background kind of noise, so I can't see what's popping up on the TV with the little price boxes. But that reminds me of House of Lies. If you like business and that type of stuff, watch House of Lies. Great forking show. But the little pop up stuff for some reason reminded me of House of Lies. But I'm so far away I can't actually see what they're listing out there. But that's pretty cool. But the guy giving the speech talked about burn rate, and I do make investments into startups and other companies, and then that's burn rate, something you always look at. But I feel like, whether it's personal spending, our government, it's when you're an individual and you look at your own burn rate and you're not meeting your financial goals, you know, you either got to go earn more money or you need to stop spending the goddamn money. And as I mentored people over the years, trying to like just learn how to save and invest, and even on my channel here, showing the power of compound interest, and if you put up $100 or $500 or $1,000 a month every month for 10 years, compounded at 10%, just a rough S&P 500 type number, where you could be in 10 years. But I don't. People just don't sit back and like, look at their own burn rate. Like, where's all my money going every month? It's a very fear of missing out. You only live once type of environment, and man, it ends up leaving you broke at like 35, 40 years old. And now instead of 40 years to save for retirement, you got 20. Yeah, good luck with that. But anyways, when I heard that, that's the kind of stuff, the conversations that I get into remind me of whether you're a business or personal spending, whatever you're doing. It's not everyone can just figure out how to go make more money. That's how I always lived. Is I didn't want to compromise. I just always focused on income, 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 Because inflation right now is a good example of that. If you didn't have a tremendous amount of income and you just had some money in the bank, and inflation goes up 30%, then you just lost 30%, and you'll eventually run out of money at that rate unless you got boatloads, built up. Let's not forget from 2000 to 2010 how stagnant the stock market was. So you can't just count on 10% return. So I always thought, like, as long as you got income, you'll always be safe, and you should always be trying to earn more income, because you can blow all your savings. So I always focused on, since I was a teenager, finding ways to maximize income and always find new ways. But let's move on to a different topic. That guy speaking, I think I saw on the TV that was a speaking fee of $200K. I could have saw that wrong because I'm so far away. It reminded me, if you watched Entourage, when Ari Gold brought the football coaches in. It was like, I think it was like Ditka, and they're like trying to get everybody pumped up. And I just was wondering, like, do you bring someone in like Bobby Knight? I'm not a big sports person. I just roughly know these people, but what he got out of his people by kind of tough love, I think he was throwing chairs and shit at him. In that type of environment, do you just bring someone like that in that's like super hardcore to try to get people motivated? World's a different place, obviously, than it was 20 years ago. What else? This whole thing about Olympics in New York City. Before COVID, I spent quite a bit of time in New York, and man, this traffic sucked. Like, I started looking at, like, can I get the damn helicopter to get me from LaGuardia to Midtown or something? Because there was just times that traffic was so bad, and I would stay up by Central Park, Columbus Circle, and if I wanted to run down to Cat's Deli, or if I wanted to run down to Death and Co. and get some cocktails, getting down to the village is brutal. It took so long depending on the time of day. And I was like, man, the city's like bad enough as it is. Midtown is gridlock at times, or all time. Adding the Olympics to anywhere in the 5 boroughs just seems like pure hell. Like, so a cool concept and all. It's just, man, like, New York on a regular day sucks. And then when you caught it during the tourist season, man, it was just brutal. It was just brutal. So interesting to see it on TV. I just, like, how would that go down? Like, I don't know. If you're from New York, what's your opinion on that? It wasn't just, when I think about it, it wasn't just bad, going uptown, downtown, but going east or west sucked. It seemed like, there was no easy way, it depended on the time of day, to go east and west. It's like that was when you really got butchered. If you tried going east or west, then it was just gridlock. And, man, need one of those little Vespas and that you see in, like, Italy or something to zoom around on. What else we got? We talked about Olympics. The guy that everybody hates that works for Mace Cap, he had the Stonks shirt on, which made me laugh. I think the first time I really saw that was either in a Reddit thread somewhere or Whistling Diesel, if you ever catch that dude, like, destroying stuff on YouTube. I have a diesel truck, so it's like happens to be one of the things that pops up on my channels, and now I watch this idiot destroy stuff. Entertaining, but I remember him talking about stonks. So that made me laugh. That shirt was pretty funny. Ryan packing her bag at work, which, at first you're like, why are you working on your rucksack at work? And then she gets into this thing of, that's the cool dream of it, is this one day you just stand up at your desk and you walk away from it all. And then you find yourself in, like, a hostel in Europe or something. And in a way, like, I get that. It's, we grew up without a lot of money. And where I grew up, the lottery ticket was that rucksack. That $1 lottery ticket gave people hope. It allowed them to go to bed at night dreaming about a different life, and then the lottery ticket doesn't win, and then you go buy another lottery ticket, and the cool part is it's only $1. And you can buy a lot of goddamn hope for $1, but it's life sucks when you have no hope. And when you're growing up without any money and you watch your parents struggle, you realize they try to hang on to anything. Like our mind is looking for a way to escape this kind of hell that you're in. Because, you know, I think like that's why you see suicide rates going up sometimes is when people just feel like there is no hope and there is no way out. There is no, this is it. This is as good as it's going to get. And it's not that good, then, you know, bad things happen. So I mean, to see her packing that just reminded me of even, my father growing up. He always had to have his lottery tickets. I think that gave him some sense of comfort at night that it might be a 0.00001% chance of hope, but that was better than nothing, right? He worked at a steel factory for 30 years, making no money an hour. Anyways, that's what I took away from that scene. Anyways, Taylor had that line of, "I got to serve my master and get paid," and I think in a world where we're in this thing where we just hop around jobs all the time, and you never really master a craft, and I think that's those. There's a couple sayings out there, inch deep, mile wide, or shallow minds drown in deep waters. There's all these like little sayings. If you don't ever master a craft, you rarely get paid a lot of money, and it's hard to master a craft if you never stick around anywhere long enough to get good at a craft. And it's one of those things that you got to stick around long enough to really build up a profile and a reputation and get great at something. I think, that's kind of what Sacker did, right? She learned as much as she could from Chuck, stuck around, maybe too long for her, and then it was time to go. But I think the thing is, we don't ever stick around long enough to really, learn enough to build that reputation to get paid a bunch of money. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of jacks of all trades out there, but they don't get paid very much. But I think maybe Sacker sticks around if Chuck realizes that he really needs to help her push her political ambitions and stop using her. And that's just where that whole thing came up short. Let's see what else we got. I don't know what the hell sandwich he was eating. Chuck was eating with the governor, a ham and cheese or ham and croissant. I don't know, but I always enjoyed the food on this show. They had him and Ara killing the cats at one time. The restaurants, the pizza, the wine, the whiskey. I mean, everything I love. Like, give me a pastrami sandwich. I like my Scotch whiskey. I like my wine, and obviously enjoy the New York food scene. But they've done a good job of integrating food into the show. When Chuck was kind of trying to get svelte, and they were setting up the guy at Goldman Sachs, not Goldman Sachs, but what do they call it, Spartan Knives, and the guy's in the back room that sets up the cameras and stuff, and he's got like a Philly cheesesteak or something, and he offers Chuck a bite. I don't know if you remember that episode or not, but he offers Chuck a bite, and he's like, "No, that would be like drowning in a puddle." And they've always had some good looking food on this show. Let's see what else we got here. Again, Prince keeps saying this place is different. I think when he approached Sacker, saying the same thing, and everywhere you go, it's just place is different, and you see the do-gooder attitude. I just have a feeling in the end you're going to find out this is just Axelrod 2.0. That's a little bit taller and less hair. Let's see. The whole free Wi-Fi thing irritates me, and it reminds me of, if you watch the movie Hackers, it was one of my favorite movies growing up. I was in my teens, and I was in the tech world, and the one guy, Emmanuel Goldstein or whatever, serial killer. It was his name, serial killer. He was talking about, that's a movie line, but he goes, "We demand free access to the internet." And the problem is we got a bad problem in this country thinking everything's free, and nothing's free. When I go to my favorite Mexican joint, and I'm killing queso flamido, they call it anyways, and they bring out the quote-unquote free chips. I know those chips aren't free. That salsa's not free. It is factored into the price of my margarita and this entree. There's nothing free. There is no free internet. And even if they pull this off, no matter what, someone's got to service, and Prince actually talks about this later on when he has this conversation with Taylor. And that equipment has to be maintained. That equipment has to have power. that at some point that equipment has to be replaced. Those lines that run up and down your street and the fiber optics, those have to be laid and maintained and serviced. So there is never free. There's always associated cost. And when you hear about the free internet, it's like maybe you should say maybe internet should not be for profit, right? But there is always a cost to maintaining that and upgrading that and new technology and research. Nothing's free. But goddamn, in this country we want free everything, don't we? But anyways, what else we got here? I heard Quaaludes, and it's a very wag saying Quaaludes, right? And then it reminded me of Wolf of Wall Street when DiCaprio was trying to drive that white Ferrari. Just bombed out of his mind, and he thought he got home just okay. And then he like outside, the car is just completely trashed. Yeah, that was a good scene. Taylor's mad that Prince crossed them, and kind of another Bobby Axelrod type of move. And then Prince just kind of craps all over them in terms of, how much are you really going to change the world? 100 million's not enough. Now Taylor wants to make $1 billion because, the reality is you're probably not going to change a whole much for 100 million. It sounds like a lot of money until you realize it's just not a lot of money. And when you're trying to do, massive social change, 100 million ain't nothing. Like, it's just not anymore. That reminds me of there's a Jay-Z song, and then what was it? Was it Public Service Announcement? Forgot what track it is, but I got the lines here. It goes, "We as rappers must decide what's most important, and I can't help the poor if I'm one of them. So I got rich and gave back. To me, that's a win-win." And I always enjoy that line because how do you change the world if you ain't got no money? How do you change the world if you got no influence? And it's one of those things in a self-serving way that if we all focused on kind of getting our own acts together and we got our money right and we got our life right and got ourselves into a position where we had money, influence, or both, then you can change something. But, I look around where I grew up, we had no money and we had no influence. The working class, you control nothing. No one listens to you. You got power over nothing other than, going to the store and saying, what kind of smokes do I want today? And I'm going to hit KFC and get, some fried chicken, which there was a KFC that was like, 4 houses down. There was a 7-Eleven and a KFC. I lived there. Like, that was life. But it's just one of those things that, man, even 100 million is not enough in this world. And I got the question, is $1 billion even enough? Like, man, it takes a lot of money to move mountains. And I'm sure you can do something with $1 billion. You can do a lot of good. I just also think you can blow it really fast. And I think even Prince pointed out that you try doing good sometimes, and then it doesn't end up working. It almost has a counter effect that ends up being negative in the end. But anyways, the whole episode ends with Sacker kind of telling Chuck good luck. Finally good to see. Didn't really like double cross him or bury him like I was hoping she was going to on the exit, but it was just time. He's used her enough, and it'd be nice to see her run and get into Congress, and maybe we add a whole another political level. Kind of reminds me of The Wire, as you went through, started on the streets, went to the docks, and then back to the streets, some policing. I think, season 4, they did the school system, and then I think season 5 of The Wire, they did like the journalism and news side of it, the newspaper. Get a different side of the political realm. We got a little bit of taste of it, with Chuck's ambitions and whatnot, and manipulation of other officials, Krakow, all that stuff. But maybe see Sacker go through a run and win. That could be interesting for season 7. But anyways, that's all I got for this episode.